Welcome to Lucid Dreaming and the Cube of Space with the Alchemical Cabala. This will be an awesome 6-month course. Thank you all for showing up. This first class of the course will be a little longer than the rest as we discuss some of the details, intentions, and aims for this course. This will be an immersive experience through the Cube of Space as you explore its currents and aspects of the self within lucid dreaming. If you do the practice, you will establish patterns for yourself that will yield lifetimes of learning. So first, what do we mean by lucid dreaming? We simply mean being awake consciously within the dream state, or self-consciously aware that you are awake within a dream as you are dreaming. Anyone is capable of developing this skill. Your sincere intention, your willingness to awaken, and your consistent practice are the main aspects that will facilitate and initiate your experiences in this course. Everyone can lucid dream if they choose to awaken within their dreams. Anyone can awaken within their dreams. And this course is dedicated to serving all to awaken more within and remember the self. So before we go further here, let's establish and reconnect to a point and structure which you can access at any time throughout this course and after it, whenever you choose to. We're going to briefly immerse in a group visualization and meditation to begin our group and individual work. So please center within your body. Take a few deep inhalations and exhalations. Take at least 3 deep breaths and out breaths, and rest and center in your core center now. Closing your eyes, imagine and see that you are centered in pure white light. And within this light, you are facing the east within. You see now perfect white light project from your core, forming a perfect square in the east before you. It is perfect and it is all light. Feel this light, feel your core, and now you feel this same light form a perfect square of white light to your left in the north. This square connects to the edge of the eastern square of light before you. Breathing relaxed, you feel and sense this power, and feel now the intelligence of self project a perfect white light square behind you, forming the north and the south wall. This wall in the west behind you is connected to the north. the western wall at your back in perfect white light. And now feel from your center the white light forming a perfect square at your right, the south. Filled with the brilliant white light of the sun behind the sun. The western and southern walls connect. And the south wall to your right connects the west and eastern squares. So before you, the east, behind you, the west. To your left, the north, to your right, the south. And you are perfectly centered within the center of this square. These four walls are all connected into a perfect cube of light as you project from within your core a perfect square of light above you. And it is immediately projected and reflected as a perfect square of light below you. All you are, all you see now is light. And you now rest within the center of this most perfect cube of light. Note how from the core of your center there are now 6 perfect pyramids of light extending from your very center as they form the perfect cube of light. One before you, one behind you, one to your left, to your right, one extends above and one below. It's all one thing. This cube of light is blessed by the one, within which you have constructed it. And you may enter this cube of light at any time to center within yourself. Only that which is of the highest vibratory light may enter this cube of light within you and within which you are now centered. Breathe, relax deeply, and feel this great light. Understand, you have created this cube long ago and are simply reconnecting to this structure within you now as you embark on this great work within. Relaxed, allow this cube to glow with the light of the all. Allow it to show you what it will. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and feel the weight of your body in your own chair. You who are participating either in this Zoom class or have found yourself here have arrived here by intention and not accident. The countless places that you could be, you are here. So thank you. It's said in Cabala that there are no accidents. To the soul, experience is the teacher. We incarnate to gain as many experiences as we can within the limitations of this world of Malkut. It's an interesting fact Even when incarnate in Malkuth, the 10th sphere of the tree, we spend approximately 1/3 of our incarnation sleeping. 1/3 of our incarnate life. So why bother working with a system like Cabala or any mystical tradition? Why bother working toward waking up within our dreams? Here's one good reason one might do so. In the Western tradition and some others, it's said that the soul will incarnate repeatedly until enough experience has been gained so that the soul no longer requires the lessons of these lower, denser vibrational experiences in order to grow in the way in which our Creator has made us to evolve. After this has been attained, it is said that a soul then gets to choose whether to incarnate again or not. This is the teaching. Immersion in Cabala is said to allow one to accumulate what amounts to what would otherwise be multiple lifetimes of experience for the soul within the span of what might be one typical incarnation. You do this primarily through self-conscious immersion into the subconscious of the universal archetypes. This is a major aspect of the hero's journey as reintroduced to us in the West by the teacher Joseph Campbell. Just like the sun travels through the 12 major signs of the zodiac in succession, so too the soul travels through these intelligences or houses of the cosmos, and gaining inner and outer experience thereby it grows and evolves. This is an accelerated course for those who wish to assist in their own spiritual evolution. So while it's true that there are no shortcuts on the spiritual path, there are clearly ways that we can accelerate the learning curve. All right, here is our simple tree of life. Most people who have contact with great beings, like what we call ascended masters or angels, etc., they do so within their dreams or within the imaginal spaces within. Most of the time. Most of the time, this is the usual standard experience on the path. The realm of dreams on the tree is called the astral plane. See it right here above the earth plane. It's the first plane we encounter when we go within. And this is the moon sphere on the tree. It's called the vital soul. Sometimes it's called the automatic consciousness. The realm of dreams is the astral plane on the simple tree of life. You have all hopefully memorized the simple tree of life by now. And if not, you should do so now, meaning now this week. This image right here, you should make note of it. You should have a copy of it, and you should spend a little time memorizing it. You'll note on the simple tree here, the modern English translation of each of the Sephiroth or spheres, these little circles here on the tree of life, as well as the 7 traditional planes of consciousness within the tree. physical plane, the astral plane, the lower mental plane, the egoic plane, higher mental plane, causal plane, and at the top of the crown is the spiritual plane. These are all within you, and you are within it. Do not neglect memorizing this. Make it yours through your memorization. This is the most modern, simple tree that gives our current modern mind very good orientation to the levels that one will find oneself in when exploring the tree of life within, either in this incarnation or once one has left this mortal coil and moved into the next dimension. The next dimension, sometimes called the fourth dimension, is the most immediate dimension we encounter when we go within or ascend the tree of life, or between incarnations. You can see it forms here, the astral plane, on the simple tree. This is the sphere of Yesod, the moon, or the foundation of the tree, right here. The vital soul. It's where you go and where you tend to be in dreams. The term astral means light of the stars. This is almost a literal translation. It's the fluid medium of light that makes this plane up. We see the sun above it. This is the extension of that, the mirroring of the light. And as the fluid medium of light is there, it's this fluid medium that beings of great elevation or higher vibrations communicate with those that are incarnate in the denser vibrations. So we have the sun here and the higher mental plane, and then the divine plane. All of our own being, sometimes called our higher self, and all of the beings who are active on these higher, deeper spiritual levels tend to commune and communicate with us while we are incarnate at this level of the tree through the astral plane. The astral plane is the first subtle fields experienced from the perspective of an identity that is identified with a physical body. Basically, anyone incarnate. And it's also from the perspective of those above, the spiritual plane or the plane of the sun. It is a denser area from that perspective. But understand, when you memorize these planes on the simple tree, you can interpose them to all the complex trees and integrate them within your own consciousness. Also understand that although that we make these demarcations for understanding, understand from the highest to the lowest, these are all one thing. You are always the divine self above. And the grace that you have of being incarnate in a physical body below in Malkut is that you can participate on every level of creation. These are all one thing. They only differ in vibratory frequency, like the different colors of the rainbow are the same light, vibrating at different rates or cycles of vibration, giving us distinct colors and experiences. One way that higher beings know who to work with and how to work with is from their perspective here, the sun or the divine self or above, they can look down into the the patterns in the astral planes and see from that perspective, they can see what's going on in the world below. Because for most people, these are patterns that are just unconsciously acted out or repeated over and over until we become more awake. Until we become really awake, we just act out behaviors that we habitually repeat in the waking world, in our dream life. This is one reason you saw it is called sometimes the automatic consciousness. You can see it in things that you simply react to without any deliberation or conscious discernment on your part. So this is one reason we strive to establish more self-conscious, positive patterns with our self-conscious awareness or mindfulness habitually, so that those patterns of self-awareness become more automatic and habitual. The ideal being that we are always in touch with the self-conscious witnessing awareness of our being. As we become more awake and not just reactive to the appearances that we encounter, either in what we call this world or in our dream world, we begin to have more autonomy, and we share in the authority and exercise of will within the mind of the all. We begin to see through appearances and we are not taken in, and hence subject to the appearances and the forces behind those appearances. Think of how easy it is when we watch a movie to just get sucked in to the imagery that we see. We feel the feelings that these images evoke or invoke that we're participating in, but mostly it's a kind of an unconscious ride. Unless we're really seated in self and observing ourselves, observing what's occurring, we tend to just go and be swept along with the currents. So it's a very important aspect to ingrain for yourself as you delve more deeply into the mind, particularly what we call the astral, which in Cabala sometimes is called the storehouse of images. What this means simply is question everything that appears before you. And don't just assume that what appears to be is what you perceive or think you already know what it is. And this applies to everything. If you practice it in your waking life, you're much more likely to do that as well when images appear in your inner life. This takes discernment and effort, which you will learn as you practice asking these questions more and more during your waking life and in your dreams. So, if you're not able to just induce or remain consciously awake in your dreams, simply acknowledge that as what is, and ask your holy guardian angel or higher self to assist you to become more awake in your dreams. Intention, intention, intention. We know the prime directive in Cabala is to know ourself. Know ourself. Waking up to what is within us, within our own inner consciousness consciously. It's one way in which we come to remember, or reintegrate, and thereby become more our whole self. All right, I'm going to speak briefly of the nightly review practice. Some of you are familiar with it, some of you may not be. But this is an incredibly important practice to do every night. Each night you go to sleep, as you're laying down, before you begin your core practice with the alchemical Cabala each night, I want you to review your day in reverse. Start where you are. Look at everything like it's a movie in reverse and backwards. And just observe it without condemnation. Go through each event. It doesn't have to take long, 5 minutes at the most. But you go back throughout your day and you see what you did, no matter what it was. You don't judge it, you just watch it. Now, as you're reviewing your day in reverse, you obviously start from the time you lay down and you go backwards and you see the conversations, the experiences, and the interactions you had throughout that whole day, no matter what it was, in reverse. Some things will stand out to you as very important. Some will be not so important. Doesn't matter. Just go in reverse. With each thing, look and see how you responded, how you acted or reacted, either or. And then simply ask yourself, were you honoring who you are? Not some idea of who you should be, but who you really are. And just make a note of it, where you did. And where you maybe fell short of being your whole self. Maybe you felt like you should have said something, but for whatever reason, you withheld saying what you really wanted to say. Just make a note of it and resolve to do better when that experience presents itself again. And you do that throughout your whole day, all the way back to your morning waking moment. Doesn't take long. But if you will do this each night, you'll see a profound shift over time in your experience. Do not underestimate the power of this simple practice of retrospection. It's one of the most powerful practices you can employ that gives you the most gains with the least amount of effort. It also declutters your own personal subconscious mind. It's kind of like defragging your computer. I'm not a computer guy, but I know that you kind of get rid of all this clutter. What it does is it takes and sweeps out the subconscious, because your subconscious will be processing that stuff during the night if you don't do this practice. But when you do it, you just take a huge burden off the subconscious and allow it. Now, it doesn't have to deal with that. You've dealt with it. So it allows your subconscious to do more heavy lifting spiritually for you. And this is the interesting thing. With persistence of just this one simple practice of retrospection every night, eventually you get to the point where you wake up. And when you wake up, you make the intention for your day to be awake, to be yourself. Eventually, your experiences of life become more and more a self-conscious continuum. So I'm going to repeat this point. With persistence of a nightly retrospection, your experience of life becomes more and more a self-conscious continuum for you. There are fewer and fewer breaks or gaps in awareness of self. This is gold if you will do the simple work. Make it a practice every night. And this is one way to gauge your being who you are and not dream walking unconsciously through your life. This is one of the main purposes of a consistent nightly review. Do not allow apathy or lethargy to prevent you from these simple practices. They take very little time compared to the payoff, both for yourself and for others. There's a lovely quote from Jason Lauderhan, one of our best teachers in the last 100 years of Kabbalah in the Western tradition. We owe a lot to him and those that came before him. So when we begin to wake up in our dreams, we are becoming more self-conscious in a good way. Because as above, so below, and as below, so above. If you have not memorized these patterns on the cube, these are the outer currents, please do so this week. You need to memorize these and also keep a copy of this and also where the keys are on the cube of space. You want to ingrain this imagery so that you understand the connections of the tarot keys and their intelligences as they form and operate within and through the cube of space. Start to contemplate how the key you are working with each week is connected to the other faces and currents of the keys on the cube. Here are the center, Tav, right here. This is where we are beginning this week, the very center. And these show the 6 sides. The Empress here is the east. The Wheel of Fortune here is the west. The Tower is the north. South is the sun. The Magician is above. And the High Priestess is below, the subconscious. These correspond to the 7 interior stars or metals of the West. These are also the chakras of the East. These are the specific vortexes of light and consciousness within us. Here they are, as they are approximated along our spine in the interior. Okay, back to the 12 currents around the cube. Here again are the 12 edges, the outer currents, or intelligence of the zodiac of the cube of space. These are the intelligences, or what we call the signs of the zodiac, all 12 of them. I want you to note the currents, the way they flow. In the Western tradition, the cube of space, above is self-conscious awareness, below is subconscious awareness. What connects them all above and below is the superconsciousness, a breath of the Fool. These are also the 12 apostles in the Christian mystical tradition, and they are sometimes considered the 12 labors of Hercules, that which every soul must master or accomplish. So I'm going to briefly touch on the cube of space. Our first known expression of the cube of space in print is from what's known as the oldest mystical book in Judaism. This is called the Sefer or Sefer Yetzirah, which means the book of formation or book of creation. Now, scholars disagree on this book's actual origin and date. Some place it in the 3rd century CE, some place it in the 6th century CE. And others attribute the work to Abraham, which is much older, of course. And still some cite this as much older, particularly when one considers that the oral tradition preceded print by, we know, at least thousands of years. But as far as print goes, all scholars agree, and I'm not a scholar, I'm a mystic, but all scholars do agree that the Sefer Yetzirah, from which we get the cube of space, is in fact the oldest known mystical Jewish text. In the Western mystery tradition, we use this structure to immerse ourselves within the creative matrix of the all, which brings more light to us from the source or self within. This structure aids the soul in its growth spiritually through experience, both inner and outer. Speaking of Abraham, some might find this image of interest. Some have seen it before, some have not. So here we see one of the largest religions in the world, their most sacred site. And you see the circumambulation around this Kaaba or stone within this cubic structure. You might find this interesting. The practice to circumambulate this structure is to circle it at least 7 times. That's an interesting number, given we know these 7, the cube is made up of a center and 6 sides, and corresponds again to the 7 interior stars. So again, speaking of wisdom, let's look to the first place in the tarot where we see the cube in the major arcana. Can anyone tell me before I pull it up where it is?
The Emperor, I think.
Okay, close. Yes, High Priest is perfect.
Ah, yes.
That's right. So, in the major arcana, and remember that the tarot is a book. It's a book of wisdom. The main text and content of the book being in the 22 keys of the major arcana. So the first place we see the actual cube of space is in the second or number 2 key of the tarot, which is the High Priestess. She is the highest middle path on the tree of life. The first place we see the cube, and in it, it's her throne. In this key, the cube is gray. She has synthesized polarities, all polarities. The white of this pillar, the black of this pillar are synthesized within the cube. And the stone. Remember, the High Priestess is the foundation of the cube of space. Interesting. It's also interesting that the moon sphere on the tree of life is the 9th sphere right here, called Yesod, which means foundation. It is in Cabala the world of Yetzirah. Recall this word from the Sefer Yetzirah, or Book of Formation, where we see the cube of space. The moon sphere, or the astral plane, is the world of formation. From the more subtle planes of the astral, materials come into formation. And when they are completed here, like ripe fruit, they fall from the tree of life and appear in the world of Malkut, the earth, what we call the outer world. the final and most complete sphere on the tree of life. The cube of space might be considered a fruit of sorts of the tree of life. Notice how it aligns itself with the tree. First, we see it from the Ein Sof aura, right? Above the tree where all begins. We see this triangle, the Ein Sof aura, condense into the single point of Keter. And this pattern continues through Chokmah and Bina and the invisible sphere of Da'at. As we continue down the tree from the more subtle or the finer to the denser vibratory levels, we see a pattern form of 4 cubes, which correspond to the 4 worlds of the tree of life. The Yod He Vav He. All that was, all that is, and all that ever shall be. So it's interesting. Remember, High Priestess is the moon, is the bottom and foundation of the cube of space. So what does this mean? One meaning is that all form is made of and rests upon the prima materia, that is the first matter of the High Priestess. All is built on this. Everything that is, everything that was, and all that shall be. And this is the essence of the subconscious mind. So another meaning here is mastering the waters of the subconscious is a key to knowing the self and self-mastery. Until we know ourself within, we are simply restating what we have been told in the world outside. And this is the importance of real gnosis. Because we only take with us that after we leave this world, that which we have learned to be so within us while we are incarnate. In the Western tradition, it's stressed because sometimes people have this idea that once we leave our physical body, we'll become wise and we'll get all this knowledge that we're somehow missing in the world. And the Western tradition really stresses to learn and do all of your spiritual work as much as you can here while you're incarnate. Do as much inner work and exploration that you can in this dense vibratory level, because it's here where the most spiritual gains can be made. The one analogy is how bodybuilders lift heavy weights to get the most gains. The principle is similar. And we must learn to see with inner light that is generated by the self within, by ourself. Otherwise, we're prone to only experience what is contained within the mass mind and believe that what we see is all there is. The key here, as the key to all things, is a sincere, persistent, and consistent spiritual practice. Your own personal subconscious is like an inlet from and to the great ocean of the universal subconscious mind. It's how you access the all. Waking up here within your own subconscious allows you to come to know yourself and the all more deeply. So, do you have a question?
No, I'm leaving. I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So, in this 6-month course, if you will apply yourself earnestly to the core practice each night with a real intention from yourself to awaken within, you will accomplish two very important things, among others, but these two important things. You will become more awake in your real self. And by doing so, you will assist all humanity in waking up spiritually as well. You will discover, go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. You will discover things for yourself that you can take with you throughout all of your life and lives. Now, a couple of notes on the topics of dreams. For a considerable period of time, most of the characters that we encounter in dreams are aspects of our own self or our own psyche that we identify as others that people our inner world. This is fairly common and part of process of integration. So as you begin to awaken more within, you start to realize that these appearances of seeming others are actually aspects of our own self. There are exceptions, which you will find through experience, but consider for now that a great number of that peoples your inner dream life are simply that, aspects of yourself that you project or as this person, that person, whatever. When the Maharishi was once asked, how should we treat others? His response was, there are no others. So start to integrate this perspective as a practice in your dream work and nightly practice. You can also practice during your waking hours. As you become more and more awake in your dreams, question the characters you encounter in your dreams as if they are aspects of your actual self and not something you think you already know or understand. It's an exercise of humility to question the appearances before us, especially in our dreams and in our waking life. The people that appear that we think that we know forever, if we give space and humility and allow and ask that person to show us what we're not seeing or need to see, that's a space in which miracles can occur. So as you do this in your dreams and practice this inwardly, as well as your waking hours, begin to question all that appears before you and do not take these images for granted. That's being asleep. Practice inwardly asking the being before you to reveal the truth to you. You can be very overt in your dreams. In real life, just speak it inwardly. Let the person be who they are, but ask for grace to see more, for them to reveal to you what you need, to show you what you need to learn, to show you what you are not yet seeing. Again, a huge part of waking up. Most people today in this time, we go through life sleepwalking through the days just to get through the things, right? As if we know what and whom we are interacting with on a daily basis and calling this reality. It works for a while, and some people do it for a really long time, which is fine. But let's try to break those patterns and see what we see. Exercising humility and knowing one is not knowing is a very powerful practice to integrate different aspects of one's person into one's whole self. And lucid dreaming is the perfect laboratory to practice this alchemical integration of the self. Which brings us back to the cube of space. The cube is a diagram or pattern for how the Creator brought all into existence from non-existence and is continually doing so. Remember, by definition, to exist means to stand out from. To stand out from what? To stand out from or appear to stand out from the all, or what we call non-existence. Again, the cube is the least explored aspect of Cabala in both the Orthodox Jewish Cabala and the Western mystery tradition, which is an amalgamation of many of the schools of wisdom throughout the ages. From Hinduism to Sufism to Jewish and Greco-Roman and Egyptian mysteries, the Western tradition combines all of these. In short, like the tree of life, the cube of space is a glyph that allows us to explore the nature of consciousness within its own creation. Engaging in and immersing ourselves within this universal pattern of the cube of space allows the soul to gain experience that aligns with the patterns held in the greater mind of the all, and merging our self-consciousness with the universal consciousness within these patterns. This allows your soul the opportunity to gain more experience in one lifetime that would otherwise take more numerous incarnations. This is really the point from the perspective of spiritual evolution. This is not a religion, and no one is demanding that you buy this. You will see for yourself once you immerse yourself within the system as to lose yourself. When you re-emerge in consciousness, you will know that which cannot be taught, but that which may be received. This is the true Cabala, the reception. Thank you. And now we get to the good stuff. Where are we at? Where'd you go? Okay. Well, all right. All right. So this is our key for the week. Let me find a better version. Better version. Looking for my key. Hold on. There we are. All right. Here we go. All right. So this is our main practice throughout our class. And please just unmute yourselves one at a time. We're starting in the very center of the cube. And please share what it is that occurs to you or what speaks to you in our key for this week, the world key, the letter Tal. Hopefully I have not put you all to sleep tonight.
Just say real briefly that because as you were sharing the on the cube of space and just the structure, we just can't help. It's just an initial impression of the four different corners that are represented in the world key.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking like, oh, the four faces, and then the two, and what was it? What the evolution and involution, just the
Yes.
spiral down being
Right.
held, and how it's like, oh, that's, and then the part that comes up for me like now is like just like as above, so below. So it's kind of like that. Like
Mhm.
here's the above and below, and then here's the four faces. But
Yep.
yeah, just a little small something.
No, it's great. Thank you.
I see like it's a cube inside of a cube inside of a cube kind of a situation.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Well, I mean, they are in the middle of this cube, but they're also inside the directions. I mean, they're in their cube, in
Mhm.
their circle, in their sphere right here.
Right.
And they're holding the Kundalini or
Mhm.
so, and it's just the motion around it, the being is
Yes.
in motion. So
Cool.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
So, as I recall, the four faces represent Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Okay.
And I believe those are the chromosomes that the person is holding.
Interesting. Yes.
And that is the cycle of life. The wreath represents the cycle of life, completing the journey that the soul has traveled from the fool to the world.
Hmm. Excellent. Yes. It's kind of interesting to know. You brought up that he's completed the journey, the fool or she, and the Aleph Tav is like the Alpha Omega, right? It's the beginning and the end. And there are only two androgynous figures in all of the major arcana. One is the fool, and the other is the world dancer.
Yes. So, uh, from what I remember, the tarot, the major arcana, tell the journey of a soul from fool stepping into the world to the final realization in the world card, which is the 21.
Yes. Excellent. Absolutely.
Now, the four faces, I'm sure, represent other aspects, but they're often referred to as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Yes, that is absolutely true, especially in Christian mysticism. That is the case. Um, in the zodiac, it's Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, which are fixed signs, right? Meaning they're stationary in the cosmic cross, so to speak.
Right.
Um, what do you make of can anyone speak to how the dancer is both male and female? What do you make of that?
we are all it. That is it. That is it.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
Like you were
Like in
talking about
Genesis, it
the
says, go ahead, Easy.
you were talking about the diffusion or synthesis. Or what was the word you used in regards to the high priestess? How she sits on the cube,
Mhm.
which has the mix of, or I don't think you said mix. Did you say diffusion of polarity?
It's the synthesis.
Synthesis. Thank you.
Yes, it's the integration of polarity. Mhm.
So the other thing on that is you mentioned the fool, and you were talking of the cube being like the fruit of the tree, So in the same way, the fool would be like the the green the greenery that surrounds the world dancer, and
As the zero.
yeah, in the sense of being the all that surrounds the fruit itself.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then the figure would be the distillation, or the seed of that, like yeah, if you play with the fruit and the seed, you have the fool and the fruit. Does that make any sense?
Okay. Yes.
Something like that. Like the
Yes.
fruit is like the as far as the seed is concerned, the fruit is
Yes.
all that is.
Yes. And the seed is in the fruit, and the fruit is in the seed.
Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
So the fool steps into manifestation, into creation. The fool is a soul. And in order to step into this material world, it must separate into both, into either male or female. Spirit spiritual side being one gender, and the physical side being the other gender, complementary, if you will, so that our significant other completes us in this manifestation.
Mm.
So as we travel through this manifestation, we travel through the cards.
Mhm.
And in the final analysis, arriving at the end, once again returning to the heavens as a spirit soul, which is both male and female.
Yes. The fool. Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Yes, absolutely. This is why we see the world dancer, this area here of Yesod on the flash is covered with the sign of Jupiter, right? The cough or the grasping hand. And the subconscious here has integrated both the self-conscious mind and the subconscious mind back into one. That sounds almost like lucid dreaming, because your self-consciousness has reawakened within your own feminine subconscious. Yeah.
So a question about the lucid dreaming part in actual like dream state, noticing when you wake up that you would make a decision in your dream that you would actually make a decision in your waking life. I noticed that I was making choices in my dream state that I would absolutely make in real life now. Like
Okay.
very, very like spiritual decisions. And that I didn't notice those things before, but now I notice I'm doing that.
Interesting. What do you make of
Like
that?
I make conscious choices in my dream now. So is that like what?
That's good.
Okay, like where you're conscious and you're unconscious, or make.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right. Because so what is it? What's that famous saying? Is it Young or one of them? Until we make the unconscious conscious, it rules our life, and we call it destiny or fate, right? Something like that. And until we are aware of the patterns that we're acting out unconsciously, we don't really have a choice in that, right? We're being driven by these unconscious forces. But when we become more awake, we can see the pattern, and then we have a choice. Then we can say, hold on, stop. Just wait a minute. Then we can have a choice and not just react. When we stop the patterns of reaction that are unconscious, we now have some autonomy and can formulate and change and alchemically alter those patterns. and build new patterns, ones that are more conducive or helpful, positive, rather than, you know, things that don't work for us anymore. Who else?
Well, I will just say that this character in the center looks like they're having a fantastic time and kind of dancing through life with like a sense of ease and completeness and joy. And it sort of seems like what we're all striving for here, and what so I mean, I'm just starting to learn all of this, but it looks like a very complete place.
Great. That's excellent. But please continue. Tell me more.
Well, in a sense also, it's like there's like a freedom and a looseness to the body. It's in there in the sky where there's just complete limitlessness in a sense, but they're also protected by this wreath, this verdant wreath.
Victory
And
wreath.
yes, and there's like a lightness of foot in a dance, and it almost, in regards to lucid dreaming, it's almost like when you do become awake in the dream, like you can have the choice to do anything or be anything and go in any direction you choose, up or down or anywhere. And this it's kind of, this character is sort of indicating that freedom of lucidity.
That's excellent, Hillary. Thank you. Yes, you really zeroed in on this. Yes, now this is the key of Saturn, Tav, which is it's the intelligence of Saturn is constriction or form. But what we see here is the spirit that is the dancer, the world dancer, which is the unified self and subconscious mind within us, has learned to be free within the constraints of form. So rather than identifying with just the limitations of the world, this being has integrated their self and subconscious mind and realized that they are free. They are the opposites associated with this key in Cabala are slavery and dominion. So to the degree that we are identified with form only, we are slaves. To the degree that we are purely unconscious, we experience what's called slavery. To the degree we become more conscious and identify more with our spirit within form and outside of form, that becomes dominion. And there's this dance between the two. That's really well said. Thank you, Hillary. Anyone else?
Yeah, I see a like an association, a deliberate association between the wreath and the letter kaf, meaning to grasp.
Hmm?
And when we grasp something, when we really grasp it, that's a form, that's mastering it. And I see it's almost like the words victory and mastery are the same, at least in this key.
Yeah. Right. That's excellent observation, Michael. So in the Western tradition, and please continue, Michael, I don't want to stop you, but I'm just sharing for people who might not know, the color green on the tree is the seventh sphere of victory. And we see the leaflets, every aspect. There are 22, there are 11 on each side of the world dancer. These represent all the powers of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, of the Aleph Bet. And like Michael said, they're bound above and below in a victory wreath around the dancer. And this letter Kaf, which is the, like, what do they call those that pageant people who win things, the little sashes, is that what they call them?
Yeah, sash. Yeah.
And but it's a sign of victory too, also, right? It's like
Yeah.
they've been victorious. And of course the wreath is a sign of victory and it's colored green. And this is the letter of Jupiter, which is the expansion, the expansive intelligence of life. And it's centered directly within the constrictive intelligence. So we have this dance between constriction and expansion. And the conscious being, which is our self-awareness, our own awareness, just pure naked awareness within all of our identities and forms, is dancing within this whole creation. And I agree with you, Michael. This is very much a sign of mastery, dominion.
Yeah. Yeah, the energy, like Starlet said, the Kundalini energies, they're spiraling in opposite directions too. So that's there's the mastery of both the path, active and passive.
Yes, right. The integration and the dissolution, right?
Yeah.
It's both powers, and she has them perfectly centered.
Right, like fire and water.
Right. And this is the lowest middle path on the tree. So it's almost like she has the left column and the right column in her grasp, in balance.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. This is the main initiatory path into the tree of life and the cube of space. So really give this key your attention this week. Really immerse yourself in it. Put yourself in that figure space in your imagination and hold those currents, those spirals of light.
And I
You'll
add one
notice,
thing?
yes, please.
So the green, of course, as we know, is also the color of love and victory. And then also about space and overcoming it, there's nothing added and nothing goes away in creation. It is only transformations. So this is the ability to transform into something else, whether it be the material or yourself, but both at all levels, to see something and change it into something else.
Mhm.
And nothing goes away, everything is here, but it's that ability, that mastery, that you can transform anything
Very cool.
from what it is to something else, anything else.
Mhm.
And your circle is love.
Right.
And that's the activator.
Say, Margot?
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to visualize, I mean, if you were praying for something to go out of your life, then part of the message here, the lesson here is don't just wave it away or cause it to disappear, because it doesn't really work.
No, creation
So
doesn't accept negatives.
Yeah.
Wherever
So
your conscious is what you get. So you have to not say, go out of my life. You have to say what you want into your life.
yeah, but you're taking the what I'm seeing here is you're taking the energy of what you're seeing and you're not superimposing an alternative onto it, but you're changing it itself. That's
You
kind
are
of hard to.
asking, no, you're asking for something else and it changes.
Right, right. But it's like the thing that you don't want in your life.
You don't do it that way.
Yeah, right. But yeah, let me finish.
Okay.
So it's like thinking of like an addiction or a troublesome person or relationship. In other words, you can't avoid it. The thing that you want to replace it with, the good thing, then has to like come from within that thing that you're looking at. In other words, you're transforming the thing itself, not replacing it with something else. I'm sorry, that's a little abstract,
Yeah.
but
No,
it makes
no,
sense to
I
me.
see it. I see it.
Yeah,
I'm just
I see
looking
it
at,
too.
what you have to
reshaping
see
clay.
is what this thing that you're judging is detrimental, though for some, they need that for change to happen in their life. They need something as a block so they move forward.
Yeah, yeah. You know, where this
But to
really applies.
change, you don't, it doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't work that way. You have to see it
Can I
completely
say something?
in the positive.
So, as we recall from the brochure that we received when we first met the order, stepping stones, we transform those blocks into stepping stones.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
We don't focus on the blocks.
We
We just
focus on what we want, and then
Yeah.
what we don't disintegrates,
Falls away.
goes somewhere else. Yes, and
Yeah.
then yeah, that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
I want to point this out. On this home deck is the only one I know it does this, but I love it. The blue sky that's contained within this really reminds me of a descending blue dove or bird.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do y'all see that?
Yeah, I see that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, really love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you brought that up before, and that was a great share. That was
Yeah, I have
really
never
great.
seen that before, but I really love it. I
Yeah.
find when I meditate on this key, if I will really focus on these animals in whatever order, but just really focus on them, it really helps before I go into the deeper inspects from my experience of the key.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
why, but it connects us to those intelligences. Go ahead.
yeah, so we're looking at kind of this theme of constraint too, and working within a constraint.
Yep.
And that relates to transformation, especially in shadow work, where you have a negative, you're making the unconscious conscious. So
Yep.
so you run into those elements within yourself that you really don't want to admit are you, or patterns in you. So that's where just replacement doesn't work, because that shadow element doesn't go away.
Yes.
So
it's part
what
of
we're
us.
looking to we're looking to integrate it.
Yes,
to
exactly.
bring it in, to make it conscious. And
Yep.
so the constraint part of this is, we can simply call it self-restraint.
Okay.
It's like you hate somebody, you're in their face, and
Yep.
your urge is to punch them,
Right.
but you exercise self-restraint, and in doing that, you transform.
Interesting.
You have a different experience.
Self-restraint transforms you without getting rid of the negative element.
Yes.
But
You're
actually
accepting it all,
integrating it.
and you're
Right.
binding it. See these binds above and below?
Yeah, yeah.
You're
That's
binding
yoga. That's
That's right.
yoking. That's tying together.
And here in this key, we're taking every aspect of the self, all 22 of the major arcana, all like 22 in Hebrew is the number of the circle. It's the totality. It's the wholeness. So yeah, so if there's like the eye and the deceiver key is one of these reads, but we're including it. right? That shadow aspect. And we're,
Yeah. Yeah.
These-
Earlier you said something about well, you're making the unconscious conscious. Anyway, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
Okay.
Can I add something to this?
Please, yes.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned something about like fire inside this enclosed space, or
Mhm.
maybe the energy enclosed in this space.
Mhm.
I think of, compare this one to the pool key, and I imagine that energy just enclosed like, and it explodes, because if you put like a fire inside an enclosed container, it's a bomb. It's an explosive. So I just saw this, that you put all this energy in here and limit it, and then
Mm.
it explodes, and you see the fool with all this energy surrounding him when he comes out of this egg.
Interesting.
It's just
Yeah.
I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. That's excellent. I
Yes.
like that. That too is speaks to the constraint, working
Yes.
within a constraint. And that's the reason why we have limitation then is to generate those levels of energy.
Yes. Without limitation, what do we have? We just have
The arms to
expansive
the floor.
eternity. Right.
The
Right.
arms to the
Yeah.
floor. They're
Yeah.
all black.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
When we go through illumination, they seal the light within us.
Yeah.
And they do that so that the light could increase and emanate from us within.
Yep.
very
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Listen, I know we're staying long. Is there anyone else? I know we could go on forever, but I'm going to wrap this up unless anyone has something they must say or share now. If you do, please do. Floor is up.
This is the key of remembering who we are.
I love it. Thank you. Yes, this is a powerful key. This is really, truly the initiatory key into the tree of life and the cube of space. Really give it your full attention this week. Really, really put yourself in this key. All right. Thank you all
Thank you.
for your outstanding shares as always, and all the light that you bring, brilliant as always. So we know the cube is made of 6 sides and a center. The 6 sides connect the cube to the sphere of Tiferet, or the heart of the tree, beauty. So what is beauty on the tree? What is it? So one aspect of beauty is the innate capacity each of us have to create images within the mind. This is a divine power given to human beings. The faculty of the imagination is beauty. This is in your core practice, what you generate from within yourself. And we'll review the core practice here shortly. On the cube, waking up to the processes and currents that we see on the cube is one benefit of a regular lucid dream practice. Like Patrick brought up, we illuminate more within. He brought up a little more specific practice that's in one of the initiatory phases in the Holy Order of Mans, which is the process of illumination, where the light is sealed within the body. Which is
And
beautiful.
the heat, the reason we have to seal it and to contain the fire like that is to reach the necessary heat.
Yes.
To transform.
Yes, exactly.
That's
it's alchemical.
Pure alchemy. Pure alchemy.
Absolutely. It's pure alchemy, 100%. Because if the light can't leave, it's got to stay there and keep burning and generating away.
Yeah, it's like a pressure cooker.
Exactly. which is the center of the cube here as well. So in the East, this practice of lucid dreaming, by the way, we're exploring it more and more in the West, but this has been practiced for thousands and thousands of years. In the East, this is called dream yoga. It's one of the primary yogas of Tibetan Buddhism. It's one of the 6 main paths that they pursue. And it truly is one of the deepest spiritual practices one can participate in when incarnate in the world. And again, anyone can learn to do this. You simply have to desire to do so. The desire is that fire. You simply must want to wake up enough within your dreams to make it happen. Then proceed to do the practices that lead to this awakening. I cannot stress this enough. Your intention is the most important aspect to your spiritual work. Your intention aligned with what you actually do, where you place your thoughts, your desires, your emotions, and your actions, and thought and word and deed. Those are the elements of Yesod. I rest my life from day to day upon the sure foundation of eternal being. That's the truth about the self of the moon sphere. So, when you dive more deeply into the inner planes, there's a couple of things. You're likely to encounter guardians or other beings, and it's their job to kind of police the place. This is just how it is. So, should you ever find yourself being challenged, like you have some being saying, what are you doing here? Right. Trying to inhibit or intimidate or whatever. Here are 2 passwords you might want to memorize. Because it's not if, but when you find yourself challenged on the inner planes. Number 1, I desire to know in order to serve. This statement is sometimes said to be the only legitimate desire to know these things of the mysteries in the Western tradition. The other password you might wish to use, should you find yourself ever challenged, is I too am a servant of the light. These 2 statements must be recognized by those who serve the light. So in this course, 6 months, you're going to use the core practice, and you're going to get more skillful with it. Many of you are already familiar with the core practice, but we will review it for any that may not be familiar. Okay. Everyone keep a dream journal. I don't care if it's a notebook, whatever. Keep a pen and journal at your bedside throughout for the next 6 months. Keep it there. If you wake up after an experience from your work, don't go back to sleep. Write down your dream or experience right then, because you're way less likely to remember the minutia and the fine details if you don't do so. The other important reason for writing down these things is it grounds them in the world of Malkut. All right. The other practice is I want you to do your retrospection each night. And then as you're ready to go to sleep, I want you to take an image of the world key for this whole week, for the next 6 nights, starting tonight. Hold it in front of your physical vision. Okay. Hold the image right before you and stare at it with your physical vision. And just simply immerse your awareness and vision within everything you see in this key. Focus where your eyes go, but keep your attention on this only, with the intention that you will wake up in your dreams. You do this for 5 or 10 minutes. listen, if you take nothing else from what I'm this whole night's class, I want you to make your number one goal for the next 6 months in this course that you will wake up in your dreams. All right, as you hold this key before you, do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then lay it to the side. Then the second part of the core practice is to hold that key in your inner vision, as if it were still floating before you. Try to see the details, the colors, the shapes, the figures, the world dancer, the wreath, the red above and below, the red flowers, all 7 across the golden hair, the spirals of light. Put yourself in that. Feel what that would feel like within you, and immerse yourself inwardly in this whole panorama of images. See the lion down below you in a cloud at your left, the eagle above you in a cloud at your left. Above you, the human head of Aquarius glowing in a cloud at your right, and the bull in a cloud below you at your lower right. See the wreath around you and feel the weightlessness as you spiral and dance in this bliss. See the image within you for at least 5 or 10 minutes, then let it all go and go to sleep. It's that simple. If you will do it, you will be amazed. Consistency is the key. All right. Also, remember to not forget the little Hebrew letter in the right lower corner. Give that your attention in your visual practice. Very potent. Okay. Then you let it all go and relax. This is the core practice of the alchemical Cabala. With persistence and intention, you will break through consciously into your own subconscious mind. You will blend. You will bring together your self and subconscious mind, those 2 aspects, into one. This is one aspect of alchemy, of what they call the alchemical marriage. It's within you. From this blending, you will grasp the 2 spiral rods of light, and you will start to understand things that cannot be verbalized. Are there any questions about the core practice? All right. I'm going to just wrap this up with a few powerful techniques that can greatly assist you in your lucid dreaming practice. Here's a few things to know. We all have different cycles as far as like when we have to get up and what we have to do, all these things. Some of us are lucky and don't have to get up super early every day. If you don't, wonderful, use it to your advantage. If you do, take the days when you don't have to get up early and really use them to your advantage. Here's the way most cycles work for most human beings. When we first go to bed at night, if we're sleeping throughout the night, the first half of the night is usually not a rapid eye movement type space for us. We usually kind of drift into different waves, and we go down deep into the theta waves, and we have what's called dreamless sleep for the first half of our night's time. After that, we enter what's called the REM or REM sleep, rapid eye movement. And most of us, if we're lucky, we have approximately 4 sleep cycles, 4 full ones. And if we're really lucky and get to sleep in, we'll have up to 6. But think about whatever hour you normally get up when you don't have to get up early. Whatever hour that is, go from that hour, let's say it's 9 o'clock, and go backwards. The last 4 hours of the night that you dream are usually your most fruitful and productive times for REM sleep. This is because after we go through the theta dreamless state, we start our REM cycles. And a typical cycle is 90 minutes to 120. So hour and a half to 2 hours. As we age, we tend to wake up between these two cycles. So if you find yourself waking up in the middle of the night after a dream, a lot of people just roll over and go right back into sleep. Make it a habit to stop that, intervene in that little moment and say, okay, I am now going to be awake in my next dream. The more you do this, the more the suggestion will seep down into your awareness and you will be successful. Okay? The last cycles of our dreams are always the longest and most vivid, usually. So here's another practice. And if you get this book, it lays a lot of them out. But I've been lucid dreaming most of my life. And I have I can't even count. Like if I never even try, I have at least 2 or 3 lucid dreams a month without trying. But if I try, I can increase that to at least double or more. So there's a wake back to sleep method. And this is, if you don't have to get up at a certain hour, try to wake yourself up around 4 a.m. Okay? Because usually we don't start dreaming until after 3. But if you find yourself awake early in the morning around 4-ish, try to make yourself stay awake for, say, 20, 30 minutes. This is called the wake back to sleep method. And your odds of inducing a lucid dream go up exponentially. Like it's very high. So you can use that 20 or 30 minutes focusing on the world key or anything that requires your self-conscious awareness. Just know that you're going to go back to sleep. Then when you go back to sleep, tell yourself, I am now going to be awake in this dream. That's called the wake back to sleep method. And it's very powerful. I highly recommend you make the time and effort to do that. All right. Well, we'll discuss other methods later, but those are the main ones for now. Also, when you dream, try to, as soon as you wake up, try to remember every detail, as much of the detail of your dream as you can, and write it down, because this builds, it's like a muscle. You build the ability to retain the memories of your dreams. Part of this is training the cellular brain, the cerebellum, the little brain, to retain what your astral body has experienced while your flesh body has been sleeping. And some people say, well, I don't dream. That's so not true. Everyone dreams. It's just they don't get to remember because they haven't worked on remembering. It takes a little work. All right, do this practice every night. And then do this from now on for the next 6 months, every day before you get out of bed. Pray to your highest nature, to God, to your higher self, whatever you hold sacred, to guide you in light each day. As you make your first intention to connect with your divine self within every morning. And throughout the day, randomly, I want you to ask yourself, am I dreaming? And look around the world, look around what's in front of you and see what you're seeing and discern for yourself if you're dreaming or not. Do this several times throughout the day, every day. Now, only you can do this work, but if you will do this, what will happen is you build the habit of asking questions. And at some point, and it won't take long really, at some point, you'll because it's a habit you've developed in your conscious mind, you will carry that habit over into your subconscious patterns, and you will unconsciously ask it in your dream. And because it's a question, there's part of your mind that has to address it as legitimate. And when you say, am I dreaming? There'll be a part of your mind that'll have to look around and assess and wake up. And that usually stimulates your self-conscious awareness to recognize, oh, wait a minute. This is different. Oh, I am dreaming. Very powerful and potent practice. And it doesn't hurt to ask throughout the day, because what happens is you actually break yourself from daydream walking when you ask that question throughout the day. You stop taking every moment and everything that's occurring for granted, and you start to see more and be more awake during the waking time. So those are the simple practices. Please employ them. And thank you all for your participation in light. It's an honor to be here with you. It's going to be an exciting and interesting course for everyone. I promise the rest of the classes will not run this long, unless there's a really good reason. May we all awaken more to the self. This concludes class number 1 of Lucid Dreaming in the Cubist Space with the Alchemical Cabala. The floor is now open for any questions or comments.